connections around the world and our politics around the world and our politics and stuff together in a way that is starting to make sense. But anyways, she just did a video, Dr. Fauci to NASA, various Brofman, various people that are connected over the years. And it goes back to Robert Maxwell, and he was like a spy for more than, I think, like the Germans in the United States and Russia. I don't know, he wasn't like a triple agent or something. Anyways, after the Second World War, when the Nazis were broken up, and they supposedly had surrendered, and the United States supposedly wanted to work with them and intercept their knowledge before Russia or China got it. So I guess Truman, he said that they weren't allowed in the country. We weren't allowed to bring them in. But somehow, whoever, the military, or I'm not sure if it was the next president or who it was, but somebody allowed these ex-Nazi soldiers to come in to the country. And then they thought they were outsmarting other countries by using these Nazi soldiers, and the Nazi soldiers were actually outsmarting all the countries by inserting themselves all over the world. So instead of breaking up their war, they basically just spread out like a bunch of freaking cockroaches, or they just... Instead of going in and destroying them, we just scattered them all over the world. And those are your shadow government / globalists that are trying to globalize the world into a one world type government. And she goes into what their end game is and what their goals are and stuff, and why we see so many weird things. But anyways, they infiltrated the science community. Of course, that's what they were eugenicists, and the whole Nazi thing wasn't just about killing Jews. It was a much bigger thing than that. The Jews just happened to be the target of the day, and they were actually doing a bunch of eugenics experiments on these people and many other people around the world. It wasn't just Jews. Anyways, they took that science and brought it here to the United States. They also placed, some of them went to Russia. It was the initial puppet or something. Countries that were opposed to their agenda, and started spying on the countries. And they did this by becoming a part of the intelligence community in each of the countries that they targeted. So the flow of intelligence, when Pompeo says that he gets all that information, well, guess what? Maybe he really was keeping the information from the president that was crucial, like Russians targeting Americans in Afghanistan, putting hits out on them. I'm not saying that Putin himself would be behind that, but I bet Putin's got opposition that are Nazis also undermining him the same way they do here in the United States with the president. Because as far as I understand it, he detached himself from the globalist plan, and that's part of the reason they hate him so much. But anyways, their ultimate goal was to pit each of the countries against each other. And Russia that is because they don't want us to make friends. And so they've been manipulating the intelligence. And then they inserted themselves into the science community before they even settled here. They were working on, had started establishing biological warfare research, and they inserted themselves in China, started the Wuhan lab, in the United States at Fort Detrick, Russia. After the war, they came here and permanently established themselves. Then they started taking over publishing, like Robert Maxwell bought out Butterworth, started, that's a scientific, I think it's a scientific magazine or science magazine of some sort. So he started taking control of the information flow when it comes to science. And then they inserted themselves in the pharmaceutical industry, which helps give them control over the population, over our health and our life expectancies. And then they inserted themselves into the major universities and hospitals, like research hospitals. And then after a while, I think they kind of ran on that for a long time, working towards their climax plan of, their goal is to control the population, bring it down to a certain level, maintain it at that level, and basically use us more like objects or tools that are disposable, and they determine who's worth using and who should be disposed of and what their purpose would be, what purpose they can serve to the community. And if you can't serve your purpose, you better watch out. And then to control your life expectancy, so that they're saying that they're trying to find cures and do all this research to make things better. No, they're trying to figure out how to keep you sick and how to make sure that you don't get in the way, that you die soon. If you're too sick to go to work, they're not interested in using you. They also inserted themselves in NASA, and we claimed that we were using them to get ahead of the space race and arms race, because Russia was going to develop all this technology if we didn't do it. And so then they started up NASA, and then they did this all over the globe. They've got different, our law enforcement too, like the FBI. I don't know about the Department of Justice, but I suspect they put the people into key positions in law enforcement and politics, so that even if people caught on to what was happening, they could stop anybody from actually doing anything about it. And so they've been, they'll block investigations, sweep things under the rug. If they have to kill the people who are figuring it out, they'll do that too. And they've inserted themselves everywhere to control the flow of information, and then ultimately they bought it. The ending of it was a deception. All these people went on to produce children and brainwash the children and indoctrinate their children. They also kidnapped children from different places that they occupied and then placed them with German families. So their goal was to create a number of Nazis around the world. And this is why, because this would, in the future, it would allow them to basically wage a war on the world and take over, in part by populating certain